The Lotus Sutra, Chapter 18, The Merits of Joyful Acceptance. Thereupon, Bodhisattva Mahasattva Maitreya addressed the Buddha, saying, O Bhagavat, if sons and daughters of a virtuous family rejoice in hearing this sutra, how much merit do they acquire? And he spoke in verse, saying, After the Bhagavat's parinirvana, if there is anyone who hears this sutra and rejoices in it, how much merit do they acquire? Then the Buddha addressed Bodhisattva Mahasattva Maitreya, saying, O Ajita, after the Tathagata's parinirvana, suppose those monks, nuns, laymen and laywomen, and other wise ones, whether old or young, having rejoiced in hearing this sutra, take leave of the Dharma assembly and go to other places, either dwelling in monasteries or tranquil places, cities, towns, villages, or forests, and teach what they have heard to their parents, relatives, good friends, and acquaintances, according to the various capacities of these people. Having heard the teaching, they will rejoice and go on to teach it to others. These people, having heard it, will also joyfully teach it to others in turn, and so it continues in this way until it finally reaches the 50th person. O Ajita, I will now explain about the merit which this 50th son or daughter of a virtuous family acquires from joyful acceptance. You should listen attentively. Suppose that in the 400s of myriads of kotis of incalculable worlds, there are sentient beings in the 6 transmigratory states and of the 4 modes of birth, born from an egg, born from the womb, from moisture, or born spontaneously, either with or without form, either with or without consciousness, either unconscious or not conscious, having no legs, 2, 4, or many legs, and that, among the number of such beings, there is a person who seeks to acquire merit and gives pleasurable things to these beings according to their desire. He gives each of those sentient beings gold, silver, lapis lazuli, mother of pearl, agate, coral, amber, and other treasures such as would fill this continent of Jambudvipa, as well as elephant carts, horse carts, and palaces and towers made out of the 7 treasures. Having performed such acts of giving for a full 80 years, this great donor thinks, I have already given these sentient beings such pleasurable things as they wished, yet now these sentient beings are old and feeble. They are over 80 years old, with white hair and wrinkles, and they will die before long. I should now instruct them by means of the Buddha Dharma. He immediately gathers these sentient beings together, inspires them by proclaiming the Dharma, and gladdens them by revealing its benefits. In an instant, they all successively attain the first stage of the Shravakas called Stream Winner, the second stage called Once Returner, the third stage called Non-Returner, and finally the stage of the Arhat, free from corruption, entering profound meditations, gaining complete mastery of all, and attaining the 8 liberations. What do you think about this? Has this great donor acquired abundant merit or not? Maitreya addressed the Buddha, saying, O Bhagavat, the donor's merit is extremely great, immeasurable, and limitless. Even if this donor had only given all those pleasurable things to sentient beings, the merit would have been immeasurable. How much greater is this donor's merit after having caused them to attain arhatship? The Buddha addressed Maitreya, saying, I will now clarify this for you. This person has given all these pleasurable things to the sentient beings in the 6 states of existence, in 400s of myriads of kotis of incalculable worlds, and enabled them to attain arhatship. The merit he has attained cannot be compared with that of even the 50th person who, after hearing even a single verse of the Lotus Sutra, received it with joy. It would be even less than 100th, 1,000th, 100,000th of a myriad of a koti of that person's merit. O Ajita, in this way, the merit attained by even the 50th person who rejoiced in hearing this Lotus Sutra is immeasurable, limitless, and incalculable. How much more so is the merit of the first person who heard it in the assembly and rejoiced in it? His merit is even greater. It is immeasurable, limitless, and incalculable, and is not to be apprehended through metaphor. Furthermore, O Ajita, if anyone approaches the monasteries in order to listen to this sutra, and hears it for even a single moment, whether seated or standing, through this merit they will be reborn into a place where they will gain beautiful and excellent elephant carts, horse carts, palanquins made out of rare treasures, and will ride on a heavenly vehicle. Moreover, if anyone sits in a place where the Dharma is taught, and if another comes along and they invite that person to sit down and listen, or if they offer that person part of their own seat, through this merit they will be reborn in the place where Sakra dwells, in the place where Brahmas dwell, or in a place where a noble emperor dwells. O Ajita, If anyone addresses others saying, quote, "There is a sutra called the Lotus Sutra. Let us go together and listen to it." And if their instruction is accepted, and the other person listens to it for even a single moment, then, through this merit, the former person will be reborn in the same place as the bodhisattva who has acquired the dharinis. They will have keen faculties and wisdom. For hundreds and thousands of myriads of lives, they will never be deaf and dumb, nor will they have fetid breath. Their tongues will never be diseased, nor will they have diseases of the mouth. Their teeth will never be dirty, black, or yellow, nor gapped, nor will any be missing, irregular, or crooked. Their lips will not be drooping, pursed, or twisted, and their lips will never have cankers, scabs, be cracked, misshapen, thick or fat, black or ugly. They will have no disagreeable features. Their noses will never be flat or thin, crooked or twisted. They will never be dark-complected, with a narrow or long face that is hollow-cheeked or twisted. They will have no mark that is displeasing to others. Their lips, tongues, and teeth will all be very beautiful. Their noses will be long, high, and straight. Their faces will be round, their eyebrows arched and long. Their foreheads will be broad and even. They will thus have a perfect human countenance. Wherever they may be born, life after life, they will meet a Buddha, hear the Dharma, and accept the teaching. Look, O Ajita, the merit of that person who moved others to listen to the Dharma is like this. How much more is the merit of those who single-mindedly listen, teach, and recite the sutra, explain it for others in the great assembly, and practice as they explain it to others. Thereupon, the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. If anyone hears this sutra in the Dharma assembly and joyfully teaches others, even a single verse, and if in this way it is taught from one person to another until it reaches the 50th one, the merit that this last person will attain shall be as I will now explain. Suppose there were a great donor who gave things to an immeasurable number of people as they wished for a full 80 years. He will see that they are old and feeble, with white hair and wrinkled faces, with gaps between their teeth and withered bodies, and that they will die before long. He will think that he should now teach them and enable them to attain the fruits of the Buddha path. He will teach nirvana, the true Dharma, through skillful means, saying, quote, "The world is impermanent, like splashes of water, bubbles, a mirage. The feeling of repulsion for it should quickly awaken in you." Close quote. All of them, hearing this teaching, attain arhatship, and perfect the 6 transcendent powers, the 3 sciences, and the 8 liberations. The merit of the 50th person who joyfully hears a single verse is so much greater than this great donor's that it is beyond illustration. The merit of those who successively hear the Lotus Sutra in this way is immeasurable. How much more is the merit of the first person who heard it with joy amid the Dharma assembly? If there is a person who moves another to listen to the Lotus Sutra, saying, quote, "This sutra is profound and difficult to encounter, even in thousands of myriads of kotis of kalpas," close quote. And if this person's urging is accepted, and the other one goes to hear it, and listens for a single moment, the merit that the former person will acquire shall be as I will now explain. Life after life, they will have no diseases of the mouth. Their teeth will have no gaps, nor be yellow or black. Their lips will be neither fat, thick, or thin, nor will they ever have a disagreeable countenance, and their tongues will never be dry, black, or short. Their noses will be high, long, and straight. Their foreheads will be broad and even. Their faces will be completely handsome, pleasing to others who see them. They will never have fetid breath, and their mouths will always emit the fragrance of a blue lotus flower. I will now explain the merit of the one who approaches the monastery wanting to hear the Lotus Sutra, and who joyfully listens to it, even for a single moment. Later, they will be born among devas and humans, and will acquire beautiful elephant and horse carts, and palanquins made out of rare treasures, and will ride on a heavenly vehicle. If one is where the Dharma is taught, and invites another to sit there and listen to the sutra, through the merit which is thus acquired, one will attain the seats of Sakra, Brahma, or the noble emperors. How much more is the merit of a person who single-mindedly listens to this sutra, explains its meaning, and practices in accordance with its teaching. Their merit will thus be limitless. The Lotus Sutra, Chapter 19, The Benefits Obtained by an Expounder of the Dharma. Thereupon, the Buddha addressed Bodhisattva Mahasattva Satata Samitabhiyukta, saying, "If sons or daughters of a virtuous family preserve this Lotus Sutra, recite, explain, and copy it, they will attain 800 qualities of the eye, 1,200 qualities of the ear, 800 qualities of the nose, 1,200 qualities of the tongue, 800 qualities of the body, and 1,200 qualities of the mind. These qualities will adorn the 6 sense faculties, purifying them all. Through the natural bodily eyes given them by their parents, which are thus purified, those sons and daughters of a virtuous family will see the mountains, forests, rivers, and oceans, both within and beyond the great manifold cosmos, all the way from the lowest hell up as far as the highest summit of the universe. They will also see all the sentient beings there, perceive and know the causes and consequences of their deeds and of their states of birth." Then the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate upon the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. "Listen to the qualities of those in the great assembly who can fearlessly teach this Lotus Sutra. Such people will attain the 800 qualities of the excellent eye. Adorned with these qualities, their eyes are extremely pure. With the eyes given by their parents, they see both all the manifold cosmos within and beyond Mount Muru, Sumeru, up to Mount Kakravada, and many other mountains, forests, oceans, rivers, and streams, down to the lowest hell, and up to the summit of the universe. There they see all the sentient beings. Although they have not yet attained the divine eyes, their power of sight will be like this. Furthermore, O Satata Samitabhi Yukta, if sons or daughters of a virtuous family preserve, recite, explain, or copy this sutra, they will attain the 1,200 qualities of the ear. Through their pure ears, they will hear both within and beyond the great manifold cosmos, down as far as the lowest hell, and up as high as the summit of the universe. They will hear all kinds of voices and sounds, such as the sound of elephants, the neighing of horses, the sound of cows and carts, cries, weeping, the sound of conchs and drums, gongs and bells, laughter, talking, male and female voices, the voices of boys and girls, righteous and unrighteous voices, the sounds of suffering and happiness, the voices of common and holy people, pleasant and unpleasant sounds, the voices of devas, nagas, yaksas, gandharvas, asuras, garudas, kimnaras, mahoragas, the sounds of fire, water, wind, beings in the hells, animals, hungry ghosts, monks, nuns, shravakas, pratyeka buddhas, bodhisattvas, and buddhas. In short, although they do not have the divine faculty of hearing, they will always hear and know everything, both within and beyond the great manifold cosmos, through the purified natural bodily ears given by their parents. They distinguish all these various sounds, and yet their faculty of hearing remains unharmed." Thereupon, the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. "The ear, given by the parents, is pure and spotless. With this natural ear, they hear the sounds of the manifold cosmos. They hear the sounds of elephants, horses, carts, and cows, the sounds of gongs, bells, conchs, drums, and vinyas, the sounds of harps, bamboo pipes, and flutes, pure and pleasing songs, and even though they hear these, they are not attached to them. They hear innumerable kinds of human voices, and yet they are able to discriminate them. Furthermore, they hear divine sounds, subtle melodies, male and female voices, the sounds of boys and girls. They also hear the cries of the Kalavinka and Jivakajivaka birds in the mountains, around the rivers, or in deep valleys. They hear as well various sounds of pain and suffering from the hells, and sounds of hungry ghosts, who, suffering from hunger and thirst, are in search of food and drink. When the asuras, living along the ocean, speak to each other and utter great cries, such expounders of the Dharma, living here, hear all of these various voices from afar, and yet their faculty of hearing is unharmed. Those expounders of the Dharma hear all birds and animals in the 10 directions calling to each other. The expounders of the Dharma dwelling here also hear the voices in the Apasvara and Subka Krishna heavens, above the Brahma world, all the way up to the summit of the universe. The expounders of the Dharma dwelling here hear all of the monks and nuns, either reciting the sutra or explaining it to others. They also hear such voices as those of the bodhisattvas reciting the sutra, teaching it to others, compiling the collections, and explaining their meaning to others. Those who preserve this Lotus Sutra will all hear the Buddhas, the great seers, teaching the subtle Dharma to the great assembly and leading and inspiring sentient beings. They will hear all the sounds both within and beyond the manifold cosmos, down to the lowest hell, and up to the summit of the universe. And yet their faculty of hearing remains unharmed. Because their faculty of hearing is keen, they are able to discriminate these sounds. Although those who preserve this Lotus Sutra have not yet attained the divine faculty of hearing, they can simply use the ears given by their parents. Their qualities are exactly like this. Furthermore, O Satata Sami Tavi Yukta, if sons or daughters of a good family preserve this sutra, recite, explain, or copy it, they will perfect the 800 qualities of the nose. With this pure faculty of the nose, they will smell all kinds of fragrances, both within and beyond the great manifold cosmos, such as the fragrance of sumanas, jati, malika, kapaka, patala flowers, and red, blue, and white lotus flowers, the scent of blossoming and fruit-bearing trees like sandalwood, aloeswood, and tagara wood, the aroma of the leaves of the tamala tree, thousands of myriads of sorts of fragrances of blended incense, either powdered, shaped into balls, or made into scented ointments. Those who preserve this sutra will be able to distinguish all of these fragrances while remaining in a single place. They will be able to distinguish the scents of sentient beings such as elephants, horses, cows, sheep, men and women, boys and girls, grasses, trees and shrubs, or any kind of odor, either nearby or at a distance. They will also be able to unerringly distinguish all kinds of scents. Those who preserve this sutra, although they dwell here, can smell all kinds of divine fragrances in heaven, such as the fragrance of Parisiktrakta and Kovidara trees, Mandarava, great Mandarava, Manjusaka and great Manjusaka flowers, or the fragrance of sandalwood and aloeswood powder, and various kinds of powdered and blended incense. Among these divine fragrances, there is not one whose scent they cannot distinguish. They can smell the fragrance of the bodies of all the devas. They can also smell from afar the fragrance that is emitted when Sakra, the king of devas, is dwelling in his excellent palace, when he is enjoying the desires of the 5 senses, or the fragrance that is emitted when he is in the Sudharma hall, teaching the Dharma to the 33 devas, or the fragrance that is emitted when he plays in the garden, or the fragrance of the bodies of all the other male and female devas. In this way, their faculty of smell reaches up to the Brahma world and to the highest summit of the universe, wherein they can smell the bodies of the devas and the incense the devas burn. They can also smell from afar the fragrance of the Shravakas, Pratyeka Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and Buddhas, and know where they are. Although they can smell all these fragrances, their faculty of smell will not be harmed or misled. And if they want to discriminate and explain these different fragrances to others, they remember them without error. At that time, the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. Their faculty of smell is pure. They can smell and discriminate all kinds of good and bad odors in this world, such as sumanas and jati flowers, tamala leaves, sandalwood, aloeswood, and tagara trees, and various fruits and flowers. And they also know the fragrance of sentient beings, men and women. The Dharma teachers, although dwelling afar, know where these fragrances come from. They smell the scents of the noble emperors, of great dignity, the lesser rulers and their children, subjects and attendants, and know where they are. They can smell the fragrance of the rare jewels that they wear, their underground treasuries, and the noble emperors' bejeweled queens, and also know where they are. They can also smell the ornaments, garments, and necklaces with which people adorn themselves, and the fragrances they anoint themselves with, and know who wears them. Those who preserve this Lotus Sutra can smell the fragrance of the devas, and tell whether they are walking, sitting, playing, or transforming themselves. Although they dwell here, those who preserve this sutra know the location of the fragrances of various flowers, fruits, and oils in detail. They can smell the scent of sentient beings, either deep in dangerous mountains, or where the sandalwood flowers are in bloom, and know where they are. Those who preserve this sutra can smell the scents of sentient beings, either on Mount Kakravada, in the ocean, or underground, and know exactly where they are. They can also smell the scents of the male and female asuras and their attendants, and they can discriminate them when they are fighting or when at play. They can also smell the odors of lions, elephants, tigers, wolves, buffaloes, and water buffaloes dwelling in dangerous, precipitous places in the wilderness, and know where they are. They can smell and discriminate exactly the scent of a pregnant woman and determine whether the embryo will be male or female, without sex organs or non-human. Through this power of smell, they know in the first instance if the woman is pregnant and whether or not it will be carried to full term, and if she will give birth easily and to a happy child. Through this power of the faculty of smell, they know what men and women are thinking, their desires, delusions, and anger, or whether they cultivate goodness. They can also smell gold, silver, and various rare treasures hidden underground, as well as the contents of copper vessels, and completely distinguish them. They can smell various necklaces and know whether they are valuable or not, even when their prices are undetermined, where they come from and where they are now. They can smell and know all about divine flowers, such as Mandarava and Manjusaka flowers and Parijata trees. They can also smell and discriminate the difference between superior, mediocre, and inferior fragrances of heavenly palaces adorned with various jeweled flowers. They can also smell and know exactly about those who take pleasure in the heavenly gardens, excellent palaces, towers, and dharma halls. Moreover, they can smell and know exactly whether the devas are listening to the dharma, are enjoying the desires of the five senses, or whether they are coming, going, walking, sitting, or lying. They can also smell and know every detail of the garments worn by the heavenly maidens, giving off the fragrance of beautiful flowers, and where those maidens ramble in their play. In this way, their power of smell reaches all the way up to the Brahma world. They can smell and know exactly the devas entering meditation and emerging from meditation. They can also smell all the way from the Abhasvara and Subhakirtsna heavens up to the highest summit of the universe, and know exactly who has been born there for the first time and who has emerged. Those who preserve this sutra can smell the monks and know exactly where they are, if they are constantly preserving toward the Dharma, if they are either sitting or walking, reciting this sutra, or if they are diligently meditating under forest trees. They can also smell and know exactly if a bodhisattva is firm in intention, meditating or reciting the sutra, or teaching the Dharma to others. They can also smell and know exactly if the Bhagavat is being honored by all, and if he is teaching the Dharma out of his compassion for sentient beings. Moreover, they can smell and know exactly if the sentient beings in the presence of the Buddha are joyfully listening to the sutra and are practicing according to the Dharma. Those who preserve this sutra will attain a faculty of smell such as this, even before the Bodhisattva's faculty of smell that is attained from the incorruptible Dharma. Furthermore, O Satata Amitabhyukta, if sons and daughters of a virtuous family preserve, recite, explain, or copy this sutra, they will attain the 1200 qualities of the tongue. All that they taste, whether of good or bad flavor, savory or bland, bitter or astringent, will, through their pure faculty of tongue, come to taste just like the heavenly nectar of immortality, and they will find nothing unpleasant. If they expound the teaching to the great multitude with their tongues, their voices will be profound and touch the heart. All those in this multitude will be gladdened and pleased. Furthermore, Sakra, Brahma, and other Devaputras and heavenly maidens, hearing a sequence of their teaching expounded with such profound voices, will all come to hear it. Dragons, the daughters of Nagas, Yaksas, the daughters of Yaksas, Gandharvas, the daughters of Gandharvas, Asuras, and the daughters of Asuras, Garudas, the daughters of Garudas, Kimnaras, the daughters of Kimnaras, Mahoragas, and the daughters of Mahoragas will all approach, respect, and honor them in order to listen to their teaching. The monks, nuns, laymen and laywomen, kings and princes, ministers and their attendants, and the lesser noble emperors and great noble emperors, adorned with the 7 treasures, and their 1,000 princes, and their attendants of the inner and outer households, will enter the palace and listen to the teaching. Since these bodhisattvas expound the teaching skillfully, the Brahmins, householders, and the people of their land will attend and honor such bodhisattvas until the end of their lives. All the Sravakas, Pratyeka Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and Buddhas will always wish to see them. Wherever this person may be, he will teach the Dharma in the presence of the Buddhas there. He will thus be able to preserve the Buddha Dharma entirely, as well as utter the profound word of the Dharma. Whereupon the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. Such people, through their pure faculty of taste, will never taste bad flavors. Whatever they eat will all become the nectar of immortality. With their profound subtle voice, they will teach the Dharma to the great assembly. With various explanations and illustrations, their teaching will touch the hearts of sentient beings. All those who hear them will be gladdened and honor them with the best offerings. All the devas, nagas, yaksas, and asuras will come together and listen with respect to the Dharma. If these expounders of the Dharma want their subtle voice to penetrate through the manifold cosmos, it will reach wherever they wish. The great and lesser noble emperors and their 1,000 princes in attendance will always come and listen to the Dharma, with their palms pressed together and with respectful thoughts. All the devas, nagas, yaksas, rakshasas, and visakas, with joyful minds, will also always rejoice to come and honor them. All the devas such as Brahma, Mara, Isvara, Mahasvara will also always come to them. All the Buddhas and their disciples, hearing the sounds of his teaching, will always remember and protect him, and at times appear in his presence. Furthermore, O Satata Samitabi Yukta, those sons and daughters of a virtuous family who preserve, recite, explain, and copy this sutra will attain 800 qualities of the body. Their bodies will be as pure as clear lapis lazuli, and sentient beings will gladly look upon them. Because of this purity of body, everything will appear therein. The sentient beings in the great manifold cosmos, when they are born or die, whether they are superior or inferior, whether they are fair or ugly, whether they are in the good or bad states of being. The mountain kings, such as Mount Kakravada, Mount Mahakakravada, Mount Muru, or Mount Mahamuru, as well as all the sentient beings who dwell there, will all appear in their body. All those who dwell down as far as the lowest hell, and up as high as the summit of the universe, will appear in their body. Wherever those Shravakas, Pratyeka Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, or Buddhas are, the Buddhas teach the Dharma, and will appear with their physical images in their body. Thereupon, the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. Their bodies are extremely pure, like clear lapis lazuli. All those sentient beings who preserve the Lotus Sutra will gladly look upon them. Just as all physical images reflect in a clear mirror, the Bodhisattvas will see in their own bodies everything in this world. They alone see it, while no one else does. All those sentient beings, devas, humans, asuras, hell-dwellers, hungry ghosts, or animals in the manifold cosmos will also appear in this body with their physical images. All the heavenly palaces, which reach as high as the top of the universe, Mount Kakravada, Mount Muru, Mount Mahamuru, and the oceans will appear in their bodies. Those Buddhas, Shravakas, or Bodhisattvas, heirs of the Buddha, who are either alone or who teach the Dharma to the assembly, will all appear in their body. Even though they have not yet attained the Dharma body, which is subtle and without corruption, everything in this world will appear in their pure physical bodies. Furthermore, O Satata Amitabhyukta, a son or daughter of a virtuous family who preserves, recites, explains, or copies this sutra after the parinirvana of the Tathagata will attain 1,200 qualities of the mind. Through their pure faculty of mind, on hearing but a single verse or a single line, they will become versed in the immeasurable and limitless meaning. If, after having understood this meaning, they teach a single line or a single verse for the period of 1 month, 4 months, or 1 year, all the teachings they expound will be entirely characterized by the mark of truth in accordance with its meaning. If they teach the works on worldly affairs, treatises on political science or enterprise, all these will be in harmony with the true Dharma. They will completely know the minds of those sentient beings who pass through the 6 transmigratory states in the great manifold cosmos, their workings, shifts, and fallacies, even though they have not yet attained the uncorrupted wisdom. Their faculty of mind will be pure, just like this. Whatever this person contemplates, judges, or expounds will be nothing but the true Buddha Dharma, which has also been taught in the sutras by previous Buddhas. Thereupon, the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. The minds of such people are pure and transparent, without impurity. Through their faculty of intellect, they will know the superior, mediocre, and inferior teachings. On hearing a single verse, they will thoroughly penetrate the immeasurable meaning. Thus, they will teach the Dharma, little by little, for a period of 1 month, 4 months, or 1 year. As the result of preserving the Lotus Sutra, they will instantly know what all the sentient beings, inside and outside this world, such as Devas, Nagas, humans, Yaksas, Rakshasas, and those who dwell in the 6 migratory states, think in their various ways. They will hear and completely preserve the Dharma, which the innumerable Buddhas in the 10 directions, who are possessed of the marks of 100 merits, teach for the sake of sentient beings. They contemplate the immeasurable meaning, and they teach the Dharma in immeasurable ways. They will neither forget nor be confused from the beginning to the end, because they preserve the Lotus Sutra. They will completely know all aspects of all dharmas, and discern the meaning according to the sequence. They will be versed in names and words, and will expound in accordance with this knowledge. What they teach is the Dharma that has all been taught by Buddhas of the past. Because they expound this Dharma, they will have no fear among the people. Those who preserve the Lotus Sutra possess the pure faculty of mind just like this. Even though they have not yet attained the stage of non-corruption, they will previously have had the characteristics described above. These people preserve this sutra and dwell in the marvelous stage. All the sentient beings will rejoice and revere them. They will illuminate and explain the teaching with thousands of myriads of kotis of skillful words, because they preserve the Lotus Sutra. The Lotus Sutra, Chapter 20, Bodhisattva Sadaparibhutta. Thereupon, the Buddha addressed Bodhisattva Mahasattva Mahastamaprapta. You should know that, as I have previously explained, those who revile, disparage, or slander monks, nuns, laymen, and laywomen who preserve the Lotus Sutra will sow a bitter harvest. As I have just taught, the merit attained by preserving the Lotus Sutra will result in the pure faculties of the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. O Mahastamaprapta, in the past, immeasurable, limitless, inconceivable, and incalculable kalpas ago, there was a Buddha called Bhismagarjita Svararaja, a Tathagata, Arhat, completely enlightened, perfect in knowledge and conduct, well departed, knower of the world, unsurpassed, tamer of humans, teacher of devas and humans, Buddha, Bhagavat. His land was called Mahasamabhava, and the kalpa was named Vinarbhoga. The Buddha, Bhismagarjita Sarvaraja, expounded the Dharma for the devas, humans, and asuras in his world. To those who sought the Sravaka vehicle, he expounded the Dharma in accordance with the Four Noble Truths, ferried them from birth, old age, illness, and death, and ultimately led them to nirvana. To those who sought the Pratyeka Buddha vehicle, he expounded the Dharma in accordance with the 12-linked chain of dependent origination. To the Bodhisattvas, he expounded the Dharma in accordance with the 6 perfections, with reference to highest complete enlightenment, and led them to the Buddha's wisdom. O Mahastamaprapta, the lifespan of the Buddha, Bhismagarjita Svararaja, was as kalpas equal to 40 myriads of kotis of nayutas of sands of the Ganges River. The true Dharma abided for kalpas equal to the number of particles in Jambudvipa. The semblance Dharma abided for kalpas equal to the number of particles in the 4 continents. After having benefited the sentient beings, the Buddha entered parinirvana. After the extinction of the true and semblance Dharmas, there appeared in this land another Buddha who was also called Bhismagarjita Svararaja, a Tathagata, Arhat, completely enlightened, perfect in knowledge and conduct, well departed, knower of the world, unsurpassed, tamer of humans, teacher of devas and humans, Buddha, Bhagavat. In this way, there appeared 2 myriad kotis of Buddhas, one after another, all of whom had the same name. After the parinirvana of the first Tathagata, Bhismagarjita Svararaja, there were excessively proud and overbearing monks in the age of the semblance Dharma, after the true Dharma had been extinguished. At that time there was also a monk, a bodhisattva, called Sada Paributta, or never despising. O Mahasama Pramta, why was he called Sada Paributta? Because whenever he saw any monk, nun, layman, or laywoman, he would praise and pay homage to them, saying, quote, I deeply respect you. I dare not belittle you. Why is this? Because all of you practice the bodhisattva path and will become Buddhas. Furthermore, this monk did not concentrate himself on reciting the sutras, but only paid homage such that when he saw the fourfold assembly from afar, he would go up to them, praise and pay homage to them, saying, I dare not belittle you, because you will all become Buddhas. In the fourfold assembly there were some whose minds were impure, and who became angry, and reviled and disparaged him, saying, Where does this ignorant monk come from? He says that he himself does not belittle us, and predicts that we shall all become Buddhas. We do not need such an idle prediction. In this way he wandered about for many years, and was always reviled, but he never got angry, and always said, You will become a Buddha. Whenever he spoke these words, people would assail him with sticks or stones. He fled from them, yet still proclaimed loudly at a distance, I dare not belittle you, you will all become Buddhas. Since he always spoke these words, the excessively proud monks, nuns, laymen, and laywomen called him Sadapaributta. When this monk was about to die, he heard in the air 20,000 myriads of kotis of verses of the Lotus Sutra, expounded previously by the Buddha Bhismagarjita Svararaja, and, completely preserving them, he attained the purity of the eye, and the purity of the ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind that were described before. After having attained these pure faculties, his lifespan increased 200 myriads of kotis of nehutas of years, and he taught this Lotus Sutra to the people far and wide. Then those excessively proud monks, nuns, laymen, and laywomen in the fourfold assembly, who had despised him and called him Sadapaributta, saw that he had attained great transcendent powers, the power of joy and eloquence, and the power of great virtuous meditation. Hearing his teaching, all of them believed and followed him. Furthermore, this bodhisattva inspired 1,000 myriads of kotis of sentient beings, and caused them to abide in highest complete enlightenment. After his death, he met 2,000 kotis of Buddhas, all of whom were called Khandra Surya Pradipa. In accordance with his teaching, he expounded this Lotus Sutra, and for this reason met another 2,000 kotis of Buddhas, all of whom were called Meghasvararaja. He preserved and recited this sutra in accordance with the teaching of these Buddhas, and expounded it for the sake of the fourfold assembly. Thus he attained purity of the natural eye, and purity of the ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind, and taught the Dharma to the fourfold assembly without fear. O Mahasama Pramta, this Bodhisattva Mahasattva Sadapaributta respected, honored, praised, and paid homage to all these Buddhas. Having planted roots of good merit, he again met thousands of myriads of kotis of Buddhas, and he expounded this sutra over again in accordance with the teaching of those Buddhas. Having perfected his merits, he attained Buddhahood. O Mahasama Pramta, what do you think about this? Was Bodhisattva Sadapaributta of that time someone unknown to you? He was none other than myself. If I had not preserved and recited this sutra and taught it to others in my previous lives, I would not have swiftly attained highest complete enlightenment. Because I preserved and recited this sutra and taught it to others in the presence of previous Buddhas, I swiftly attained highest complete enlightenment. O Mahasama Pramta, then the fourfold assembly of monks, nuns, laymen, and laywomen who became angry and disparaged me did not, as a consequence, meet a Buddha for 200 kotis of kalpas, nor did they hear the Dharma or see the Sangha. They suffered greatly in the Avicii hell for 1,000 kalpas. After having been freed from the consequences of their errors, they finally met Bodhisattva Sadapaributta, who led and inspired them to highest complete enlightenment. O Mahasama Pramta, what do you think about this? Were those in the fourfold assembly of that time who disparaged this bodhisattva persons unknown to you? They are the 500 bodhisattvas in this assembly, beginning with Bhadrapala, the 500 nuns beginning with Sima Chandra, and the 500 laymen beginning with Sugatachitana, all of whom will never turn back on the path to highest complete enlightenment. O Mahasamaprapta, know that this Lotus Sutra will greatly benefit the Bodhisattva Mahasattvas and lead them to highest complete enlightenment. For this reason, after the Tathagata's parinirvana, the Bodhisattva Mahasattvas should always preserve, recite, explain, and copy this sutra. Thereupon, the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. In the past, there was a Buddha called Bismargarijita Svararaja. He had immeasurable transcendent powers, led and guided all sentient beings, and was paid homage by devas, humans, and nagas. After the parinirvana of this Buddha, when the true Dharma faced extinction, there was a bodhisattva called Sadapaributta. At that time, the fourfold assembly was becoming attached to its own interpretation of the Dharma. Bodhisattva Sadapaributta would approach them and say, "I do not belittle you. Practice the path, and you will all become Buddhas." After hearing this, all the people insulted and disparaged him. But Bodhisattva Sadapaributta patiently bore this. As he neared the time of his death, when he had expiated his past errors, he was able to hear this sutra, and his 6 sense faculties became pure. Through his transcendent powers, he prolonged his life and explained this sutra far and wide, acting once again for the benefit of others. Those who were attached to their own interpretations of the Dharma were led and inspired by this bodhisattva, and were enabled to abide within the Buddha path. After the end of his life, Bodhisattva Sadapaributta met innumerable Buddhas. Because he explained this sutra, he attained immeasurable happiness. Gradually accumulating his merits, he quickly attained the Buddha path. The Bodhisattva Sadapaributta of that time was none other than I. Because the fourfold assembly, which was then attached to particular aspects of the Dharma, heard Bodhisattva Sadapaributta say, "You will all become Buddhas." They have since met innumerable Buddhas. Those people are none other than the 500 bodhisattvas and laymen and laywomen of pure belief who are now gathered before me in this assembly to hear the Dharma. In my previous lives, I taught them and led them to hear and accept this sutra, which is the ultimate Dharma. I revealed it and taught it to others, and caused them to abide in nirvana. Throughout many lifetimes, they preserved and kept a sutra such as this. Only after myriads of kotis of kalpas have passed, a time inconceivable, can they hear this Lotus Sutra. Only after myriads of kotis of kalpas have passed, a time inconceivable, do the Buddha Bhagavats expound this sutra. For this reason, all you practitioners who hear this sutra after the nirvana of the Buddha should feel no doubt about it. You must wholeheartedly expound this sutra far and wide. You will then meet the Buddhas lifetime after lifetime and quickly attain the Buddha path. The Lotus Sutra, Chapter 21, The Transcendent Powers of the Tathagata. Thereupon, the Bodhisattva Mahasattvas, equal to the number of particles in the great manifold cosmos, who had emerged from the earth, all in the presence of the Buddha, gazed single-mindedly at his face with their palms pressed together, and spoke to the Buddha, saying, "O Bhagavat, after the parinirvana of the Buddha, we will teach this sutra extensively in the lands of the Bhagavat's separate forms at the time of his extinction. Why is this? Because we also wish to attain this true, pure, great Dharma, and to preserve, recite, explain, copy, and make offerings to it." Then the Bhagavat manifested his great transcendent powers in the presence of Manjusri, and other immeasurable hundreds of thousands of myriads of kotis of bodhisattva mahasattvas who had long lived in this Saha world, such as humans and non-humans, as monks, nuns, laymen and laywomen, devas, nagas, yaksas, gandharvas, asuras, garudas, kimnaras, and maharagas. He put out his wide and long tongue, which reached upward to the Brahma world. He emitted innumerable and immeasurable colored rays of light from all his pores, and universally illuminated the worlds of the 10 directions. All the Buddhas, sitting on the lion seats under the jewel trees, also put out their wide and long tongues, and emitted immeasurable rays of light in the same way. Sakyamuni Buddha and the other Buddhas under the jewel trees manifested transcendent powers, while fully hundreds of thousands of years passed. After this, they drew back their tongues, coughed, and snapped their fingers together in unison. Those two sounds penetrated throughout the various Buddha worlds of the 10 directions, and the earth quaked in 6 ways. Through the transcendent powers of the Buddha, all the sentient beings in these worlds, humans and such non-humans as devas, nagas, yaksas, gandharvas, asuras, garudas, kimnaras, and maharagas, saw all the Buddhas sitting on the lion seats under the immeasurable, limitless hundreds of thousands of myriads of kotis of jewel trees in this Saha world. They saw Sakyamuni Buddha sitting on the lion seat in the jeweled stupa, together with Tathagata Prabhuparatna. They also saw immeasurable, limitless hundreds of thousands of myriads of kotis of bodhisattva mahasattvas and the fourfold assembly respectfully surrounding Sakyamuni Buddha. After seeing this, they all rejoiced greatly at having attained this unprecedented experience. At the same time, all the devas spoke loudly while in the air, saying, "Beyond these immeasurable, limitless hundreds of thousands of myriads of kotis of incalculable worlds, there is a land called Saha. In it is a Buddha called Sakyamuni. For the sake of the Bodhisattva Mahasattvas, he now teaches the Mahayana Sutra called the Lotus Sutra, the instruction for Bodhisattvas and treasured lore of the Buddhas. You should rejoice deeply. You should also honor and pay homage to Sakyamuni Buddha." Hearing this voice in the air, all those sentient beings pressed their palms together, faced the Saha world, and said, "We take refuge in Sakyamuni Buddha. We take refuge in Sakyamuni Buddha." All of them scattered various kinds of flowers, incense, necklaces, banners, canopies, ornaments, jewels, and other beautiful things over the Saha world from afar. All that had been scattered formed together from the 10 directions like a cloud, and was transformed into a jeweled screen that covered all the Buddhas. Then the worlds of the 10 directions became pellucid, without obstruction, as if they were one Buddha land. Thereupon, the Buddha addressed the great assembly of bodhisattvas, beginning with Visistacharita. The transcendent powers of the Buddhas are as immeasurable, limitless, and inconceivable as this. Yet if I were to use these transcendent powers to teach the benefits of this sutra so that it would be entrusted to you for immeasurable, limitless hundreds of thousands of myriads of kotis of incalculable kalpas, I would not be able to reach the end of these qualities. To sum up, in this sutra, I have clearly revealed and taught all the teachings of the Tathagata, all the transcendent powers of the Tathagata, all the treasure houses of the hidden essence of the Tathagata, and all the profound aspects of the Tathagata. For this reason, after the parinirvana of the Tathagata, you should wholeheartedly preserve, recite, explain, and copy it, and practice according to the teaching. Those who accept, recite, explain, and copy it, and practice according to the teaching, in whatever land they may be, in a place where the sutra abides, either in a garden, a forest, under a tree, in a monk's chamber, in a layman's house, in a palace, on a mountain, in a valley, or in the wilderness, in all of these places they should erect and pay homage to a monument. Why is this? Because you should know that these places are the terraces of enlightenment, where all the Buddhas have attained highest complete enlightenment, where all the Buddhas have turned the wheel of the Dharma, and where all the Buddhas entered parinirvana. Thereupon, the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. The Buddhas, world inspirers, abiding in their great transcendent powers, manifest this immeasurable power in order to gladden sentient beings. Their tongues reach up to the Brahma world, and they emit innumerable rays of light from their bodies. They manifest this marvel for those who seek for the Buddha path. The coughing and snapping sounds of the Buddhas are universally heard in the lands of the 10 directions. The earth quakes in 6 ways. Because this sutra can be preserved after the nirvana of the Buddha, all the Buddhas rejoice and manifest their immeasurable transcendent powers. Even if, for immeasurable kalpas, they praise those who preserve this sutra in order to entrust it, they will not reach the limit of their merit. The qualities of those people are limitless and endless, just like the boundless sky in the 10 directions. Those who preserve this sutra have already seen me, the Buddha Prabhuparatna, and the various magically created forms, and today they see all the bodhisattvas I have led and inspired up until now. Those who preserve this sutra will gladden me, my magically created forms, as well as the Buddha Prabhutaratna, who has entered nirvana. They will also see, gladden, and pay homage to the past and future Buddhas, and those who are present in the 10 directions. Those who preserve this sutra will before long attain the Dharma, the hidden essence which was attained by the Buddhas seated upon the terrace of enlightenment. Those who preserve this sutra will explain the meaning of the Dharma, the names and phrases, joyfully and with undying vigor, like the wind in the sky that has no obstruction whatsoever. After the parinirvana of the Tathagata, they will know the causes and conditions and the sequences of the sutras taught by the Buddha, and will explain the truth in accordance with its meaning. As the light of the sun and moon eliminates the darkness, these people practicing in the world will extinguish the blindness of sentient beings, teaching innumerable bodhisattvas to dwell ultimately in the single vehicle. For this reason, the wise, hearing the benefits of these merits, should preserve this sutra after my nirvana. Those people will be resolute and will unwaveringly follow the Buddha path. The Lotus Sutra, Chapter 22, Entrustment. Thereupon, having arisen from the Dharma seat and manifested his great transcendent powers, Sakyamuni Buddha caressed the heads of the innumerable bodhisattva mahasattvas with his right hand and addressed them, saying, "For immeasurable hundreds of thousands of myriads of kotis of incalculable kalpas, I practice this Dharma of highest complete enlightenment, which is hard to attain. I now entrust it to you. You should wholeheartedly spread this teaching, and so extensively benefit others." Having caressed the heads of the bodhisattva mahasattvas 3 times in this way, he further addressed them, saying, "For immeasurable hundreds of thousands of myriads of kotis of incalculable kalpas, I practice this Dharma of highest complete enlightenment, which is hard to attain. I now entrust it to you. You should preserve and recite it. You should spread this teaching extensively. You should let all the sentient beings hear and know it. Why is this? Because with his great compassion, unstinting and unafraid, the Tathagata gives the wisdom of the Buddha, the wisdom of the Tathagata, and the knowledge of the self-arising one to the sentient beings. The Tathagata is nothing but the great donor to all the sentient beings. You should, accordingly, practice the teaching of the Tathagata. Never allow the thought of avarice to awaken in you. If there are sons and daughters of a virtuous family who believe in the wisdom of the Tathagata in the future, you should expound this Lotus Sutra, and let them hear and know it, so that they may attain the wisdom of the Buddha. If there are sentient beings who do not accept it, you should reveal, teach, benefit, and gladden them with the other profound teachings of the Tathagata. If you do this, you will repay your indebtedness to the Buddha." Having heard the Buddha teach this, all the bodhisattva mahasattvas were filled with joy, inclined their bodies, bowed their heads with increased respect, and, with their palms pressed together, faced the Buddhas and uttered these words: "We will certainly do as the Bhagavat directs us. O Bhagavat, we entreat you to feel no anxiety." All the bodhisattva mahasattvas uttered these words 3 times in this way, saying, "We will do as the Bhagavat directs us. O Bhagavat, we entreat you to feel no anxiety." At that time, in order to cause all the Buddhas who were his magically created forms and who had come from the 10 directions to return to their own lands, Sakyamuni Buddha said this: "All the Buddhas should be at ease. The Buddha Prabhutaratna will be restored as before." When he said this, all the innumerable Buddhas, in their magically created forms from the 10 directions, sitting on the lion seats under the jewel trees, the Buddha Prabhutaratna, the great assembly of the limitless and incalculable bodhisattvas, beginning with Visistacharitra, the 4-fold assemblies of the Shravakas, beginning with Sariputra, and the Devas, humans, and Asuras in all the worlds, having heard what the Buddha had taught, rejoiced greatly. The Lotus Sutra, Chapter 23, Ancient Accounts of Bodhisattva by Sayaraja. Thereupon, Bodhisattva Naksatra Raja Samkusumitabhijna addressed the Buddha, saying, O Bhagavat, why does Bodhisattva Vaisayaraja wander in this Saha world? O Bhagavat, this Bodhisattva Vaisayaraja has performed hundreds of thousands of myriads of kotis of nayutas of difficult and arduous practices. Splendid, O Bhagavat, I entreat you to explain it even a little, so that all the devas, nagas, yaksas, gandharvas, asuras, garudas, kimnaras, maharagas, humans and non-humans, and also the assemblies of the bodhisattvas who have come from the other lands and these Shravakas will rejoice on hearing it. Then the Buddha spoke to Bodhisattva Naksatra Raja Samkusumitabhijna, saying, In the remote past, beyond kalpas as immeasurable as the sands of the Ganges River, there was a Buddha called Chandra Surya Vimala Prabha Sasri, an Arhat, completely enlightened, perfect in knowledge and conduct, well-departed, knower of the world, unsurpassed, tamer of humans, teacher of devas and humans, Buddha Bhagavat. With this Buddha were 80 kotis of great bodhisattva mahasattvas, and an assembly of great Shravakas, as many as the sands of 72 Ganges rivers. The lifespan of this Buddha was 42,000 kalpas, and the lifespans of the bodhisattvas were also equal to this. In his land there were no women, no hell-dwellers, no hungry ghosts, no animals, no asuras, and no calamities. The land was level like the palm of one's hand, and was made of lapis lazuli. It was adorned with jeweled trees, and was covered with jeweled canopies, with various hanging flowered banners. This world was filled with jeweled vases and incense burners. There were platforms made of the 7 treasures. For each tree there was a platform, and each tree stood away from the platform a distance of no more than a bow shot. All the bodhisattvas and shravakas sat under these jeweled trees. On the top of every jeweled platform were hundreds of kotis of devas who played divine music and sang in praise and homage to the Buddha. Then the Buddha expounded the Lotus Sutra for Bodhisattva Sarvaru Pasamdarasana and numerous other bodhisattvas and shravakas. Bodhisattva Sarvaru Pasamdarasana devoted himself entirely to severe practices. Following the teachings of the Buddha Chandra Surya Vimala Prabha Sasri, he strove and wandered up and down in the single-minded search for enlightenment for a full 12,000 years, and he attained the samadhi called Sarvaru Pasamdarasana. After having attained this samadhi, he rejoiced a great deal and thought thus, I have attained the samadhi called Sarvaru Pasamdarasana entirely because of the power I attained through hearing the Lotus Sutra. I will now pay homage to the Buddha Chandra Surya Vimala Prabha Sasri and the Lotus Sutra. Immediately after he had entered this samadhi, Mandarava and great Mandarava flowers, and finely powdered, solid and black sandalwood, fell from the sky, filling the air like clouds and raining down upon the earth. It also rained the perfume of sandalwood from the inner seacoast of Mount Sumeru. With this quantity of perfume, 6 drams of which equal the worth of this Saha world, he paid homage to the Buddha. Having paid homage to the Buddha, he emerged from samadhi and thought this, I have paid homage to the Buddha using my transcendent power. This is, however, by no means equal to the tribute of offering my body. For a full 1,200 years he inhaled the fragrance of sandalwood, olibanum, frankincense, clove, aloes wood, and glue trees, and drank the fragrant oil of kampaka flowers. He then anointed his body with scented ointment. In the presence of the Buddha, Chandra Surya Vimala Prabha Sasri, he covered his body with a divine jeweled garment and with the fragrant oil. Through his transcendent power and vows, he set his body alight, which illuminated worlds equal in number to the sands of 80 kotis of Ganges rivers. At the same time, all the Buddhas in these worlds praised him, saying, quote, Splendid, splendid, O son of a virtuous family. This is the true perseverance. This is called the true Dharma offering to the Tathagata. It stands no comparison, even if one were to pay tribute with flowers, perfumes, necklaces, burning incense, scented powders, ointments, divine silk banners, canopies, perfumes of sandalwood from the inner seacoast of Mount Sumeru, and various other things like this. It stands no comparison, even if one were to offer one's kingdom, or wife and children. O son of a virtuous family, this is the supreme offering. This is the highest and best of all offerings, because you offer the Dharma to the Tathagatas." Having spoken these words, all became silent. His body was alight for 1,200 years. After this period passed, his body burned out. Because he had paid tribute to the Dharma like this, Bodhisattva Sarvarupasam Dharasana was reborn after his death in the land of the Buddha, Chandra Surya Vimala Prabha Sasri. He was born spontaneously, sitting cross-legged in the house of King Vimaladatta. Then he immediately spoke these verses for the sake of his father, saying, "O great king, you should now know that I, in an instant, attained the samadhi called Sarvarupasamdarasana in the place where I wandered. And, practicing with enthusiasm and perseverance, I set aside this, my beloved body. I have paid homage to the Bhagavat in order to attain the utmost wisdom." After having spoken these verses, he addressed his father, saying, "The Buddha Chandra Surya Vimala Prabhasasri is now in this world. Having previously paid homage to the Buddha, I attained the Dharini of understanding the speech of all sentient beings, and heard 800,000 of myriads of kotis of nayutas of verses, and tens of billions of verses, hundreds of billions of verses, and thousands of billions of verses of the Lotus Sutra. O great king, I will now once again pay homage to this Buddha." Having spoken this, he sat on the 7-jeweled platform and ascended into the air as high as 7 tala trees. Having come before the Buddha, he bowed until his forehead touched the Buddha's feet. He praised the Buddha in verse with his 10 fingers pressed together, saying, "Your countenance is rare and wonderful. Your brilliance illuminates the 10 directions. Once, long ago, I paid you homage. I now come to behold you again." Thereupon, Bodhisattva Sarvarupasam Dharasana, having spoken this verse, addressed the Buddha, saying, "O Bhagavat, the Bhagavat is yet in this world." Then the Buddha Chandra Surya Vimala Prabha Sasri said to the Bodhisattva Sarvarupasam Dharasana, "O son of a virtuous family, the time of my parinirvana has come. The time of my extinction has come. I ask you now to prepare my bed. I will enter parinirvana tonight." The Buddha again said to Bodhisattva Sarvarupasam Dharasana, "O son of a virtuous family, I entrust you with the Buddha Dharma, and all the Bodhisattvas and great Shravakas, as well as the Dharma, for highest complete enlightenment. I will also entrust you with the 7-jeweled world, all the jeweled trees, jeweled platforms, and the Devas, who are my servants in the great manifold cosmos. After my parinirvana, I will also entrust you with all my relics. You should distribute them far and wide, and pay them homage. You should also erect a great many thousands of stupas." Having addressed Bodhisattva Sarvarupasam Dharasana in this way, the Buddha Chandra Surya Vimala Prabha Sasri entered parinirvana in the last watch of that night. Thereupon, having seen the Buddha's parinirvana, Bodhisattva Sarvarupasam Dharasana was grieved and saddened, and longed and yearned for the Buddha. Having prepared a pyre with sandalwood from the inner seacoast of Mount Sumeru, he cremated the Buddha's body in homage. After the fire had gone out, he collected all the relics. He had 84,000 jeweled urns made, and erected 84,000 stupas as high as 3 worlds. They were adorned with poles from which hung all kinds of banners, and canopies, and various kinds of jeweled bells. Then Bodhisattva Sarvarupasam Dharasana thought this, "Although I have paid tribute in this way, I am not yet satisfied. I will now further pay homage to the relics." And then he spoke to all the great assemblies of Bodhisattvas, great Shravakas, Devas, Nagas, and Yaksas, saying, "You should pay full attention. I will now pay homage to the relics of the Buddha Chandra Surya Vimala Prabha Sasri." Having said these words, he made an offering before the 84,000 stupas by burning his arms adorned with hundreds of merits for 72,000 years. He thus made innumerable Shravakas and immeasurable, incalculable people set forth toward the highest complete enlightenment. All of them were made to dwell in the samadhi called Sarvarupasam Dharasana. At that time, all the Bodhisattvas, Devas, humans, and Asuras saw that his arms were missing, and became grieved and distressed. They said, This Bodhisattva, Sarvarupasamdarasana, is our teacher. He has led and inspired us. He has now burned his arms, and his body is deformed." Then Bodhisattva Sarvarupasamdarasana made a vow and said to the great assembly, "I have abandoned both my arms, and I shall definitely attain the golden body of the Buddha. If this is true and not false, then may both arms be restored as before." Because this Bodhisattva was endowed with profound merit and wisdom, after he had made this vow, his arms recovered spontaneously. At that very time, the great manifold cosmos quaked in 6 ways. It rained jeweled flowers from the heavens, and all the devas and humans experienced an unprecedented marvel. Then the Buddha addressed Bodhisattva Naksatrarya Jasam Kusumita Bijna, saying, "What do you think about this? Is Bodhisattva Sarvarupasamdarasana someone unknown to you? He is none other than this Bodhisattva Basayaraja. He undertook the practice of giving by abandoning his body immeasurable hundreds of thousands of myriads of kotis of nayutas of times in this way. O Naksatrarya Jasam Kusumita Bijna. If there is anyone who sets forth and wishes to attain highest complete enlightenment, he should pay homage to the stupas of the Buddha by burning either a finger or a toe. He is superior to those who pay homage by giving their countries and cities, their wives and children, or the mountains, forests, rivers, ponds, and many other rare treasures. If there is anyone who pays homage to all the Buddhas, great Bodhisattvas, Pratyeka Buddhas, and Arhats by filling the great manifold cosmos with the 7 precious treasures, the merit of this person will not be equal to the surpassing merit of one who receives and holds to even a single verse consisting of 4 lines of the Lotus Sutra. O Naksatrarya Jasam Kusumita Bijna, just as the ocean is the greatest of streams and rivers and of all waters, this Lotus Sutra is the most profound of the sutras taught by the Tathagatas. Just as Mount Sumeru is the greatest of mountains, greater than Earth Mountain, Black Mountain, Mount Chakravada, Mount Mahachakravada, and the 10 jeweled mountains, this Lotus Sutra is the greatest of the sutras. Just as the moon is the greatest among all the stars, this Lotus Sutra is the most illuminating of the thousands of kotis of sutras. Just as the sun destroys darkness, in the same way, this sutra destroys the darkness of erring thought. Just as the noble emperor is the best of all the kings, this sutra is the noblest of all the sutras. Just as Sakra is the king of the 33 devas, this sutra is the king of the sutras. Just as great Brahma is the father of all sentient beings, in the same way, this sutra is the father of all the wise, the noble, those who have more to learn, and those who do not, and those in whom the thought of enlightenment has awakened. Just as those who have entered the stream of the teaching, those who are to return to this world once again, those who are never to return, Arhats and Pratyeka Buddhas are the best of all the common people, in the same way, this is the best of all the sutras taught by all the Tathagatas, Bodhisattvas, or Shravakas. Those who hold to this sutra are the best of all sentient beings. The Bodhisattvas are the best of all Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas. In the same way, this sutra is the best of all sutras. Just as the Buddha is the king of the Dharma, this sutra is the king of sutras. O Naksatrarya Jasam Kusumita Bijna. This sutra saves all sentient beings. This sutra makes all sentient beings free from suffering. This sutra greatly benefits all sentient beings and brings their aspirations to fulfillment, just as a clear, cool pond satisfies the thirsty, as a fire satisfies those suffering from cold, as clothes for the naked, as a caravan leader for merchants, as a mother for her children, as a boat for the traveler, as a physician for the sick, as a lamp for the gloom, as a treasure for the poor, as a king for the people, as the sea for traders, and a torch for those in darkness. In the same way, this Lotus Sutra frees sentient beings from every suffering, all the pains and bonds of sickness and of birth and death. If there is anyone who hears this sutra, copies it, or moves others to copy it, their merit will be limitless, even if it is measured through the Buddha's wisdom. If there is anyone who copies it and pays it tribute with flowers, perfumes, necklaces, burning incense, scented powders, fragrant ornaments, banners, canopies, clothes, various kinds of ghee lamps, oil lamps, fragrant oil lamps, lamps of oil made from Campaka, Sumanas, Batala, Varsika, and Navamalika trees, that person's merit will also be immeasurable. O Naksatraraja Samkusumita Bijna, if there is anyone who hears this chapter, called Ancient Accounts of Bodhisattva by Sayaraja, they will attain immeasurable and limitless merit. If there is any woman who hears and holds this chapter, called Ancient Accounts of Bodhisattva by Sayaraja, she will never be reborn with a female body. If there is any woman 500 years after the parinirvana of the Tathagata who hears this sutra and practices according to the teaching, she will immediately reach the dwelling of the Buddha Amitayus in the Sukhavati world, surrounded by great bodhisattvas, and will be born on a jeweled seat in a lotus flower. Never again troubled by the three poisons of greed, anger, or ignorance, by arrogance or jealousy, he will attain the bodhisattva's transcendent powers and the acceptance of the non-origination of all dharmas. After attaining this acceptance, his faculty of sight will be pure, and with this pure eye faculty he will see all the Buddha Tathagatas, equal in number to the sands of 72 million kotis of Nayutas of Ganges rivers. At that time, all the Buddhas will praise him from afar, saying, "Splendid, splendid, son of a virtuous family, you have preserved, recited, and contemplated this sutra from the teachings of the Buddha Sakyamuni and taught it to others. The merit you have obtained is immeasurable and limitless. Even fire cannot burn it. Even water cannot wash it away. Even thousands of Buddhas cannot give a complete description of your merit. You have already destroyed the Maras. You have already conquered the armies of birth and death. You have defeated all enemies. O son of a virtuous family, hundreds of thousands of Buddhas together protect you with their transcendent powers. There is no one equal to you among the devas and humans of the entire world." With the exception of the Tathagata, the wisdom and meditation of all Shravakas, Pratyeka Buddhas, and Bodhisattvas can never equal yours. O Naksatraraja Samku Sumita Bijna, such is the power of the merit and wisdom that this Bodhisattva has perfected. If there is anyone who hears this chapter called Ancient Accounts of Bodhisattva by Sayaraja, rejoices in it, and praises it well, in his present life he will always exhale the fragrance of blue lotus flowers from his mouth, and will always emit the fragrance of the sandalwood on Mount Oxhead from his pores. The benefits of the qualities he has obtained are just as mentioned above. For this reason, O Naksataraja Samku Sumita Bijna, I will entrust you with this chapter, called Ancient Accounts of Bodhisattva by Sayaraja. During the period of 500 years after my parinirvana, you must spread it far and wide in Jambuvaipa, and not allow it to be destroyed. You must not give Mara and his men, or the Devas, Nagas, Yaksas, and Kumbanda demons any chance of destroying it. O Naksatrarya Jasamku Sumita Bijna, you should protect this sutra with your transcendent power. Why is this? Because this sutra is good medicine for the ills of the people of Jambudvaipa. If there is any sick person who hears this sutra, his illness will disappear, and he will neither die nor grow old. O Naksatrarya Jasamku Sumita Bijna, if you see anyone who holds to this sutra, you should scatter blue lotus flowers full of scented powder on him. After scattering them, you should think this: this man will before long destroy the army of Mara, sitting on the grass-covered terrace of enlightenment. He will blow the conch of the Dharma, beat the drum of the great Dharma, and ferry all sentient beings across the ocean of old age, illness, and death. Therefore, if those seeking the Buddha path see those who hold to this sutra, the thought of respect should awaken in them. When this chapter, called Ancient Accounts of Bodhisattva by Sayaraja, was being taught, 84,000 bodhisattvas attained the dharini of understanding the speech of all sentient beings. The Tathagata Prabhutaratna in the jeweled stupa praised Bodhisattva Naksatrarya Jasamku Sumita Bijna, saying, "Splendid, splendid. O Naksatrara Jasamku Sumita Bijna, you have attained marvelous merit, for you have questioned the Buddha Sakyamuni about these things, and benefited all of the immeasurable numbers of sentient beings."